good to see you. I just spent over a week in India with you, and I enjoyed it so much. Sunil, let me start by asking you to tell us a little bit about your very fascinating career all over the world, and of course, the fact that you're an competent board ambassador.
Thank you very much, Hela. And it was, sorry, it was a pleasure meeting you in India for almost a week. And I got a lot of words of wisdom from you. I still remember those words. Coming back to my introduction, Hela, I'm originally a lawyer. Many people do not know this. I first became a lawyer. Then I became a finance professional, a certified management accountant from India, from America, a chartered secretary. And so, but I never started my career as a lawyer. I started my career in finance department. Uh, First 15 years of my career, I spent in multinational companies like Goodyear South Asia Tires, then Foster's, the Australian beer company, and then McDonald's, the burger company in the world. After spending 15 years in corporate finance as a CFO, as a finance leader, I shifted to general management and I became a managing director, which is equivalent to chief executive officer. So I was a managing director in Jordan for a very large fertilizer chemicals company. And I lived in Jordan, I lived in South Africa, then I moved to Singapore. And I lived in Singapore almost for 9.5 years and worked for a very large family managed multinational company, I would say, almost 2 billion US top line. I was handling $500 million out of that. Multiple businesses managed out of Singapore, Myanmar, England, Dubai, and of course, India. And so my last designation was Chief Executive Officer, Infrastructure Vertical and New Business Initiatives, where I would acquire companies, sell companies, and of course, run the listed companies on the board, which is very important. In addition to that, I have done multiple things in my life. I went to Oxford for my leadership program. I went to Aspen in Colorado for my leadership program. I'm a certified psychologist, a certified coach, certified mentor, and multiple things. And I'm very happy to say that I'm also a brand ambassador of competent boards. And that's the latest feather in my cap. I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And you also hold the competent boards, the global competent boards designation and certification.
Yep.
Sunil, you and I talked a lot, and we visited a lot of fantastic places and talked to a lot of very fascinating, wise people when I visited with you in India. You also gave me a copy of a book that's called Mastering the Power of You. And in that book, the chapter 15 is Mastering the Power of Sense Making, written by you. And if you allow me, I'm just going to read the abstract just for everyone that's listening. And then I want for you and I to dive into sense making. And especially we here at the end of 2024, starting into 2025, how do we use sense making, not only from an India perspective, but a global perspective? So, and I think everyone will understand if I can read this out nicely. So this is the abstract. We live in an uncertain world where our context changes constantly and rapidly. The change is often sudden and caused by unexpected events. The leaders face questions about what caused the change, its implications for our organization, the new opportunities and threats, and how to navigate the fast-changing landscape in our industry. These are difficult questions because of the complexity and ambiguity of rapid change. The leaders have to cope with incomplete information. Instead of using step-by-step analytical thinking processes, they have to make sense of the emerging context to take business decisions. This chapter will explore the nature of sense-making and how to master the critical leadership skill. And then I'm going to say, instead of this chapter, well, this chapter of where I'm interviewing you, this session will dive into this. And as I said, let's look at it both. You're in India, but you have worked globally. You're also global chair.
Yep.
What does all of the changes that is happening at the moment around the world in terms of geopolitics, you know, nature sending invoices, population that are shifting, politics that's shifting, you name it. There seems to be things we need to make sense of out there. So
Yeah.
Sunil, I'll let you talk a little bit about it and then have a conversation about it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Fela. And this topic is very close to my heart, and not because I have written a chapter in this book. By the way, this book was published by the alumni of Oxford Science Business School, almost 30 of us, and we chose one topic, and I chose the topic of mastering the power of sense making. Now, this chapter, what I have written is, of course, there is theoretical background to that. Carl Weick, a behavioral scientist, has come out with the theory of sense making. But before knowing that theory of sense making, I was applying that theory in my real life. And that's why I thought I should write a book or a chapter on that. Now, as a leader, we are always impacted by the changes happening in the external world as well as internal world. When I say internal world, means within your corporate, your organization, and when I say external world, means everything and anything, be it politics, be it economy, be it stock exchange, or be it social impact happening in the world, or be it sustainability, be it environmental, social, and governance. Every single thing is impacting the organization, but it's also impacting the leader. Now, the sense making, the basic purpose of sense making was that a leader might be excellent in his technology or her technology expertise, management expertise. But I always use this word common sense to an uncommon degree. It's what world calls the wisdom. And this is a famous quote. I don't remember who is given that quote. I can send you that. But a leader has to consistently keep making sense, interpret the events, interpret the people, interpret multiple things simultaneously, and reinterpret them with respect to how to run the organization, how to run the business, and how to ensure sustainability of the business. I'm talking from a bottom line point of view, from a growth point of view, from a mergers, acquisition. So sense making is a skill which is typically not taught anywhere. It is, I always talk explicit knowledge and implicit knowledge, right? So how do you get that implicit knowledge? It's through an experience. So I thought, why not bring out this knowledge of sense making by way of writing an article? And that's where I tried my level best to explain what sense making is and how does it work and how it can help the leaders across the world. And I have personally applied this. One of the success criteria when I analyze myself, what I found out that I might not be the best finance professional in the world. I might not be the best management professional in the world, but I thought I was capable to interpret what's happening in the external world much quickly, much faster than my colleagues or my competitors. And I got that first mover advantage to interpret, apply, and execute the strategy, policies, procedures. So that's where this book came in. I wrote this entire chapter during the lockdown. So there was a lot of time. I did a lot of research on that. And it was an interesting article, an interesting chapter to write on the book, along with the very illustrious professors as well as alumni of Science Business School in Oxford University. Thank you.
Sunil, in the book, and you talk about different types of people and you talk about those that make sense. I was almost going to say make sense of everything, not necessarily
Yeah.
that make sense, but also more analytical types. is
Yep.
is there kind of like the in between that you make sense of the different things, but then you have some other more analytical things that might be pointing the other way? And when do you listen to the sense maker and when do you listen to the analytical? The same goes in an organization, right? You can say that that's both in your own head, but also in an organization. When do you use what?
So it's an interesting question. In my book, I have classified people into two categories. one with the S type and one with the Y type, basically those who make sense and those who do not make sense. What I have tried to mention there that we need both types of people in an organization, no doubt about that. Those people who think critically, those people who think rationally, those people who apply data based on our research, data analytics, whatever. But we also need a people who are on the ground, who are talking to the common man on the road, on the street, who are talking to your customers, who are talking to your suppliers, and maybe who are talking to the community as well. All the stakeholders. So having a rapport with the stakeholders is what I am saying that we also need those type of people. And that's where I call them the people with the sense making. So basically, I'm not saying that we only need the people who make sense or we only need the people who are critical thinkers or rational thinkers. We need a combination. What I'm trying to say in this book is that when we recruit the people, we need to identify which are the people who are the sense makers in my organizations. And that's where is a critical aspect, or it's difficult to find out, right? As a leader, when you recruit someone, you always recruit for a functional expertise or whatever requirement is there. But a sense maker is sort of a person who gels with the people, who goes and talks to the people. But very important, that sense makers bring information back to you, to your office, to your organization, and helps you to interpret that information in a way that how it is going to impact your business. And biggest thing or biggest challenge is they may bring multiple data points. Huge information may come to you through the sense maker. As a leader, my duty, my job is to want to listen to them first, interpret that information, ask them the right questions, then based on that, again reinterpret that information, and then see how it is going to apply to our business or a particular business which the leader is running. Classic example, and which you are very well aware of that, in the year 2024, how many countries in the world underwent national election, right? And you know that, you did a survey on that, and I have been referring to this for last 1 year. Almost 55% or 54% of the world's population underwent the election process this year. And what you have seen post-election or even pre-election, the trends, the new governments, the new political parties. Now, all this is going to make an impact on our business. As a leader, we need to interpret how this change in the political environment is going to impact me as a businessman, me as a leader, and me as obviously a leader of that particular specific company. It's an organization. And you're already seeing now, if I know that a particular change in a particular country is likely to impact me, am I ready? Am I flexible enough? Do I possess the agility to change my business model quickly? And that is what a smart leader will do, or a leader with lots of sense making can preemptively think what is like to impact me, what's like to happen to me, and how do I run my business more successfully, more efficiently. And of course, the time is an essence. Time is of essence always. Now, sustainability is a common subject, and we all been discussing this for many years, right? From the triple P, triple bottom line, Brundtland report, and all the way. But how that sustainability is going to impact me as a leader and my company and my business. A smart leader will start working in advance, proactively, start working on that. Rather than looking at sustainability or ESG as a tick box in my compliance report, if I do it proactively, before someone else comes and tells me that, hey, you have to do this compliance and it's not going to happen, you have to proactively start looking at sustainability in advance before the regulations come, before the regulations come and hit you, or you are forced to do it. Now, that is again a sense making, right? I always say sense making is a very common thing, but we have not converted that into a skill. We all have common sense, right? And we always say that common sense is uncommon. We have a sixth sense and multiple things we talk about sense. But how to convert that sense into a skill which will help you to run the business? That's about sense making I'm talking. And one of the example, Carl Weick, the guy who created the theory of sense making, he gives is sense making is like a map making. And when you make the maps, you have to take into consideration the multiple aspects, the terrain, the weather condition, the height, the width, the depth, the valley, the water, so many things. So in the same way, he said, Carl Weick says that as a sense maker, as a leader, need to consider multiple things while making the sense of the things. And how do you plot those things on a blueprint or on a piece of paper and interpret them, how it is going to impact you as a business.